What if I told you that, at this very moment, life is orchestrating something monumental beneath the surface of your everyday existence? A silent but profound transformation is quietly unfolding, not by chance, but by design. The truth is, most people never notice the signs. They dismiss them. They keep walking the well-worn path, clinging to routines, comforts, and old identities, unaware that the winds of change have already begun to stir. But if you're here, watching, listening, then a part of you has already sensed it. You feel it, don't you? That quiet urgency in your soul, that whisper that says, something is about to shift. This isn't a coincidence. It's not imagination. It's an awakening. Before we go deeper, I want you to know this message isn't for everyone. It's for those who are ready to see, ready to listen, ready to walk through the fire of transformation, even if they don't fully understand what lies on the other side. So, if you've been sensing that something in your life is about to break open, if there's an energy stirring in your spirit that you can't quite explain, stay with me, because today we're going to uncover 8 undeniable signs that your current life is dissolving and something far greater is waiting to emerge. But remember, recognition is only the beginning. The real question is, will you have the courage to answer the call? 1. When everything falls apart, the sacred test before the breakthrough. You're moving forward. Finally, you've made the decision. You've stepped onto the new path. And just when you begin to feel momentum, everything begins to fall apart. The job you thought was secure suddenly dissolves. The relationship that once felt unshakable begins to tremble. Your plans, so carefully crafted, collapse one by one, like dominoes set in reverse. And you begin to wonder, did I make a mistake? Am I cursed? Is the universe punishing me? But the truth is far more sacred, far more ancient. The Stoics knew that the moment before transformation is often chaos, that the soul must be tempered in fire before it is entrusted with freedom. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are things that show what men are." And what he meant was this: obstacles are not signs that you are off course. They are signs that you are approaching something real. Because here is the eternal law. Before the birth of a new life, the old life must disintegrate. And often, that unraveling is violent. Not to destroy you, but to test you. You say you want change, the universe listens. But it also asks, are you sure? Will you endure the fire that forges the stronger you? It sends trials, not to punish you, but to strip away what is weak. It sends delays, not to block you, but to develop your patience. It sends breakdowns, not to break you, but to break open parts of you that could never grow in comfort. This is the sacred test before every breakthrough. But most people misunderstand it. They see struggle as a red light, when in truth, it is a gateway. They interpret the falling apart as failure, when in truth, it is formation. The Stoic does not flee from these moments. He does not curse the gods or spiral into self-pity. He steadies himself, plants his feet, and says, "This is what I was made for." Because he knows, gold is not purified without fire. The storm does not arrive to drown you, but to teach you how to sail. And the path to strength is not comfort, it is resistance. Every time life knocks you down, it is asking you a question. Will you quit or will you rise? And with every rise you prove something, not to others, but to yourself. That your foundation is not built on circumstance. That your will is greater than your fear. That your identity is not what happens to you, but how you respond. So when everything starts falling apart, look again. What if things are not breaking down, but breaking open? What if this chaos is not the end, but the beginning of your next chapter? Do not run from the collapse. Stand inside it. Let it strip away the false, the fragile, the familiar. Because what is left after the fire, that is what's real. And only the real you is strong enough to carry the weight of the life that's coming. 2. The quiet exit, when people begin to leave. There's a strange kind of silence that enters your life before transformation begins. Not the peaceful kind, but the hollow one. The kind that arrives when familiar voices grow distant, when people you once trusted begin to fade from your orbit, one by one. At first, it feels like rejection. It feels personal. It feels like abandonment. But what if I told you this is not a loss? It is a clearing. When your life is preparing to shift, when something profound is about to emerge, those who no longer resonate with your future begin to fall away. Friends stop calling, conversations grow shallow, support disappears. It's painful, yes, but it is also purposeful. The Stoics taught us to observe nature, and in nature, pruning is not cruelty, it is necessity. The tree sheds its leaves not out of despair, but out of wisdom. It knows what must fall away in order for spring to come. Likewise, life begins to prune your relationships as you ascend. Some people were never meant to walk with you into your next chapter. They were companions for a season, not a lifetime. Their purpose in your story may already be complete, but in our human attachments we struggle to accept this. We cling, we beg, we chase, we replay conversations, hoping to undo the silence. But in doing so, we resist the natural flow of change, and we slow down our own evolution. And then there is something even harder. Some will not leave quietly. They will betray. They will resent your growth. They will mock your new values. Why? Because your rise reflects their stagnation. Your evolution reminds them of what they're not ready to face within themselves. A Stoic does not take this personally. He does not hate the withering leaf. He simply recognizes that seasons must change. Letting go of people is one of the deepest Stoic practices. Learning to accept what is no longer in your control, releasing what no longer aligns with virtus, your true nature. But make no mistake, letting go does not mean closing your heart. It means opening it wider, for the right ones. Because as life removes what no longer serves you, it also begins preparing space for people who mirror your growth, who challenge your mind, not just entertain your time. Who walk beside you, not because they need something, but because they believe in what you're becoming. And here's the paradox. If you keep holding on to those who are meant to leave, you will never meet those who are meant to arrive. So if you find yourself alone right now, if your circle has grown quieter, smaller, even painfully so, do not despair. This is the sacred silence before the real alignment. You are not being abandoned. You are being positioned. You are being readied. The Stoics reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. And losing people, no matter how it unfolds, is always an outside event. But how you respond, that is the arena of the wise. Let them go with grace. Bless their path. And trust that what's falling apart is simply making room for what's about to rise. 3. Unexpected opportunities. Doors you didn't knock on. Change often begins not with thunder or fanfare, but with a quiet knock, a message you weren't expecting, a meeting you didn't plan, a moment so subtle, so sudden, that you almost miss it. And yet, that moment holds the power to redirect your entire life. You're going through your ordinary routine, coffee, tasks, emails, and then, without warning, life offers you something unexpected. An idea arrives with force, a job offer shows up uninvited, a stranger connects you to someone who opens a new path. You weren't asking for it, you didn't chase it, but it came anyway. This is not random, this is not luck. This is alignment. The Stoics believed that Fortuna, the goddess of chance, offered gifts to those who were prepared, those who lived with virtue and attention. As Seneca once wrote, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." But what he didn't say is this: sometimes the greatest opportunities don't come from the doors you knock on, they come from the ones life opens for you, quietly, unexpectedly. But here lies the challenge. These moments don't arrive with certainty. They don't come with guarantees. They come with risk. And for most people, that's where the opportunity dies. The average person sees the door and hesitates. Is this real? Am I ready? What if I fail? So they wait, they think, they delay, and while they're building courage, the moment slips away. You see, opportunities are living things. They move, they expire. They do not linger indefinitely while you wrestle with your fears. The Stoic does not waste time waiting for the stars to align. He acts. He steps into the unknown, not recklessly, but deliberately, not because he knows the outcome, but because he knows that action in accordance with inner purpose is always right, even if the result is uncertain. And that's what most people never understand. Opportunities are not always comfortable. They don't always feel like open arms. Sometimes they feel like fear, like disruption, like chaos wrapped in possibility. That idea that jolted you awake in the night, that invitation you weren't expecting, that moment that seems too good, too strange, too sudden to be real. What if it's not random? What if it's the exact thing your future self has been trying to deliver? What if you prayed for growth, and this is what the answer looks like? Not neat, not safe, but utterly real. A Stoic understands this. Fate does not always ask for permission. It offers a path, and then it watches what you do next. And sometimes, fate only shows the path once. So the question is not, am I ready? The question is, am I willing? Willing to leap without knowing where you'll land. Willing to follow the pull in your chest rather than the logic in your head. Willing to accept that the life you've asked for might not arrive in the form you expected, but it has arrived nonetheless. And here's the deeper Stoic insight. When you choose inaction out of fear, you are not preserving your life. You are postponing it. You are rejecting the future your soul has already aligned with. So the next time life places something unexpected in your path, pause, not in hesitation, but in reverence, because this might not be an accident. This might be the moment. And the only thing standing between the life you know and the life that is calling you is the choice you make next. 4. Synchronicities, the language of the universe. Have you ever looked at the clock and seen the same numbers over and over again? 11:11, .333, .555. Have you thought of someone only for them to call you minutes later, or heard the same strange phrase in 3 unrelated places within a day? At first you shrug it off as coincidence, but over time something inside you whispers, "No, this means something." And it does. These moments, these seemingly random alignments, are not accidents. They are synchronicities, and they are the universe's way of speaking to you, of guiding you, of confirming that what you feel deep within, this sense of change, of transformation, of quiet becoming, is real. The Stoics taught us to look for logos, the rational structure of the universe, and while they didn't speak of synchronicities in modern terms, they believed in fate fatum and divine order, that the universe is not chaotic but composed of meaning, and that everything unfolds as it must, for the good of the whole. So what does it mean when patterns appear in your life that you cannot explain? It means you are no longer asleep. It means you are beginning to listen. Synchronicities are not messages for the mind. They are signals for the soul. They bypass logic and speak directly to the part of you that already knows, that already senses the shift. and the closer you get to a breakthrough, the louder they become. The numbers repeat with greater intensity. The symbols become too precise to ignore. The timing becomes almost eerie. Why? Because you are in alignment. Your energy, your choices, your path, all are vibrating closer to the life you're meant to live, and the universe, like a great conductor, is orchestrating signs to keep you awake on the journey. But here is where many falter. They notice the signs and do nothing. They marvel, but they don't move. And that, dear reader, is the tragedy. For signs are not meant to impress you, they are meant to provoke action. The universe does not waste energy. It does not send signal after signal for you to admire and then ignore. Synchronicities are invitations, urgent and sacred, asking you to pay attention, to shift course, to make the decision your soul has already made, but your mind still resists. A Stoic would ask, what does this pattern reveal about my direction? What is within my control to change, to act upon right now? The wise do not wait for the perfect roadmap. They trust the signs are enough. So, the next time you see 11:11, or hear that same strange phrase again, or feel the uncanny alignment of events nudging you towards something, pause, reflect, ask, what was I thinking at that moment? What decision was weighing on my heart? What door am I afraid to open? Because often the signs don't point to your future, they point to your next step, that one quiet, courageous move that could set your whole life in motion. And here's the final truth. If you keep ignoring these signs, they will stop coming. Not out of punishment, but because silence is also a language, and sometimes the universe lets the absence of signs speak louder than the presence of them. So don't just see the signs. Respond, move, listen deeply. For those who learn the language of the universe, discover that life has been whispering their destiny all along. 5. The strange urge to do something new whispers from the future. There are days, quiet, unassuming days, when something stirs inside you. You can't explain it. It's not logical. It defies your plans, your schedule, your current path. Suddenly you feel the urge to do something you've never done, to move somewhere you've never been, to learn something you've never cared about before, to walk away from something that, until yesterday, you thought defined you. It doesn't make sense to anyone, not even to you, but it pulls at you, not with force, but with a kind of sacred curiosity. And here's what most people never understand. That feeling isn't random. It is a message, a whisper from your future self, calling you forward. The Stoics believe that every soul carries a unique nature, its daimon, its inner guide. And when you begin to drift too far from who you are meant to become, that inner guide doesn't shout, it nudges. It begins as a restlessness, then becomes a desire, and eventually, if ignored, becomes suffering. This urge to do something new, to start the business, take the trip, study the language, learn the craft, is not a distraction. It's your soul trying to align you with the path you have not yet walked, but must. Yet what do most people do? They suppress it, they rationalize it away. They say, now's not the time, or I don't have enough money, or that's just a passing thought. And in doing so, they delay their own evolution. A Stoic knows that timing is not always perfect, that clarity does not always precede action, that the right path often feels uncertain at first, but the pull toward it cannot be ignored without cost. Consider this. What if the reason your current environment feels suffocating is because your energy no longer belongs there? What if the reason that random idea keeps resurfacing is because it was planted in you for a reason? What if the thing you're drawn to isn't a hobby or a distraction, but preparation for a life you haven't met yet. We like to believe that transformation comes through logic and step-by-step strategy, but in truth, most real transformation begins with a strange and persistent pull, an inexplicable call, something deeper than reason, something sacred. And when you ignore it, life begins to shake the ground beneath your feet. The comfort you once cherished begins to rot. The satisfaction you once found turns sour, not because life is cruel, but because it is refusing to let you stay small. The Stoics called this oikeiosis, the process of becoming more fully aligned with your nature. And that process often begins with confusion, with a question, with a craving to break routine and touch the edges of something unfamiliar. But here's the difficult truth. That new direction will not wait forever. You either follow the whisper now, while it is gentle, or face the storm later, when life begins pushing you harder. Because when your soul is ready to grow, staying the same becomes unbearable. So if you're feeling that strange urge to write, to leave, to begin, to build, do not demand logic. Ask instead, what if this is not a distraction, but a direction? What if this isn't fantasy, but foresight? What if my future self is calling and this is how it speaks? You don't need to see the whole map. You just need to say yes to the next step. Because sometimes the soul knows what the mind has yet to grasp. That the life you were meant to live starts the moment you decide to follow the pull. 6. A deep restlessness. The first whisper of transformation. There are moments in life, rare, unsettling, powerful, when everything around you begins to feel strangely off. You wake up one morning and realize that the world you once built with such conviction no longer fits you. The job that once fueled your ambition now feels hollow. The conversations you once enjoyed have lost their meaning. The rhythms of your life, once so comforting, now echo like a prison. It's not burnout, it's not boredom, it is your soul rising. This restlessness isn't here to torment you. It's here to liberate you. It is the first whisper from within, telling you that you've outgrown your current existence, like a snake shedding its skin, or a seed pressing against the shell of its former self. You are being summoned towards something greater. The Stoics believed that everything in nature evolves in accordance with its inner essence, its logos. Just as the acorn carries within it the oak, your restlessness is a sign that your potential has begun to stir. It is not a flaw, it is a signal, a divine nudge, reminding you that remaining where you are is no longer congruent with who you are becoming. But here's the paradox. This awakening rarely feels like clarity at first. It arrives as confusion, even grief. You may question yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why does nothing satisfy me anymore? You may even think you're broken. But you are not broken, you are becoming. Most people will suppress this feeling. They will drown it in noise, scrolling, shopping, distractions, validation. Because change, real change, terrifies the ego. It threatens the identity you've clung to. It demands you let go of certainty and step into something unshaped, unnamed, and unknown. But the Stoic doesn't flee from discomfort. He faces it, questions it, learns from it. He sees this restlessness not as a curse, but as a sacred threshold, the boundary between the life he's lived and the life he must now create. And here's the deeper truth. If you ignore this calling, life will begin to shake you, not to punish you, but to push you. The universe, or fate as the Stoics would say, does not allow those who are meant to rise to stay asleep forever. You will encounter losses, breakdowns, disruptions. Doors will close, chapters will collapse, not because life is cruel, but because it is wise, and it knows you are not meant to stay where you are. In these moments, fear will arise, the fear of letting go, the fear of beginning again. But listen carefully. Restlessness is not your enemy. It is a sign that your destiny no longer lies behind you. It lies ahead, just beyond the boundary of comfort. So do not numb it, do not resist it. Sit with it, listen to it, trust it. This is the soul's first cry for expansion. And if you dare to answer it, your life, quietly, steadily, powerfully, will begin to change in ways you never imagined. 7. Peace in the eye of the storm, the calm before the becoming. And then something strange happens. After the restlessness, after losses, after the signs, the tests, the heartbreak, the awakening, there is a moment of stillness. Not because the chaos has ended, but because something inside you has stopped resisting it. It's not the peace of everything being in order, it's the peace of you finally being in order with yourself. While the world around you may still be unraveling, while people are leaving, plans are falling through, and the old life is dissolving into dust, you feel a strange, almost unshakable calm. It doesn't make sense. You should be panicking. You should be running. You should be clinging to something, anything familiar. But instead there is a stillness in your chest, a quiet whisper that says, this is not the end, this is the beginning. This is what the Stoics called ataraxia, a deep inner tranquility not dependent on external conditions. It is not passive, it is not naive. It is the hard-won stillness of someone who has walked through the fire and did not lose themselves. You see, most people seek peace through control. They think, if I can just fix this, secure that, plan everything perfectly, I'll finally feel safe. But control is an illusion. The only real peace is the kind that survives the storm. And when you reach this space, when you feel calm, not because life is easy, but because you are finally anchored within, that is the truest sign of transformation. Because peace isn't the absence of trouble. Peace is the presence of alignment. It is the soul's quiet knowing that everything is unfolding as it should, even when your mind cannot yet understand it. It is the trust that the breakdowns had purpose, that the losses were protection, and that what's coming will make sense in time. The Stoics never promised a life free from suffering. They promised a mind free from slavery to it. So when you find yourself standing in the ruins of your old life, and yet your heart is still, your breath steady, your gaze clear, know this. You are no longer the person who needs the old life to feel whole. And from this space, a new world begins to assemble around you, not rushed, not forced, but drawn magnetically to the version of you that now sees clearly, chooses consciously, and lives courageously. This is the final threshold. Not the end of change, but the end of resistance. Because when peace rises inside you, while the world is still shaking, you have truly stepped into your power. Not the loud, performative power the world admires, but the quiet, immovable strength of someone who knows who they are. And this is where the next chapter begins. 8. Brutal clarity, when you begin to see the truth. At some point along the path of inner transformation, something both liberating and painful begins to happen. You start to see, not with your eyes, but with your inner clarity. Not through judgment, but through awareness. You begin to notice what you never saw before, or perhaps what you were never ready to see. The conversations you used to accept without question now feel hollow. The laughter that once comforted you now rings with dissonance. You start catching the subtle tones in people's words, the bitterness behind their smiles, the quiet envy behind their encouragement, the invisible walls behind their kindness. It's not paranoia. It's perception. And once you begin to see the truth, you can't unsee it. This is what the Stoics meant when they spoke of living in accordance with nature, not the trees and rivers alone, but human nature. The Stoic is trained to perceive without illusion, to see things as they are, not as we wish they were. And what you begin to see is this. Some of the people closest to you were never truly with you. They were with the version of you that asked for less, that questioned nothing, that stayed small. But now that you're growing, now that you're changing, they pull away, not because you wronged them, but because your evolution makes them uncomfortable. Some people love your light until it shines brighter than theirs. And beyond people, the illusions crumble elsewhere too. The job that once gave you a sense of pride now feels like a cage. The routines that once offered security now feel suffocating. The goals you once pursued now feel disconnected from your soul. This awakening is disorienting. You begin to question everything. Why am I still here? Why did I ignore this feeling for so long? How did I let myself accept this as normal? The Stoic does not resist these questions. He welcomes them because he knows clarity is a form of grace. Painful, yes, but necessary. Most people, when faced with this kind of inner awakening, run back into the fog. They try to unsee what they've seen. They call it overthinking. They blame it on stress. They say, maybe I'm just being negative. But deep down, they know. The lie is over. The mask is cracked. And the truth is now demanding a response. And here lies the Stoic challenge. To face the truth without flinching. To see things as they are and then act in accordance with what you now know. Because if you ignore the truth, you suffer twice. First in the soul, for betraying your own perception, and second in the world for continuing to live in places and patterns that no longer serve you. So when this brutal clarity comes, do not curse it. It is not cruelty, it is light. And that light is here to burn away what's false, so that only what's real remains. Yes, it may cost you certain friendships. Yes, it may require walking away from things that once felt safe. Yes, it may leave you feeling alone for a time. But the truth has never been about comfort. It has always been about liberation. And what could be more stoic than this? To stand eyes wide open in the face of everything you once believed, and choose to walk forward anyway, not into certainty, but into alignment. Because once you begin to live from what is real, everything false will naturally fall away. And in that shedding, your true life begins. If you've seen even one of these signs, truly felt them, then you already know. Your life is no longer what it was, and it will not be what it used to be. You are standing at the edge of something vast. The old self is shedding. The false attachments are falling away. The world you built from habit is dissolving, not to leave you empty, but to make room for who you were always meant to become. This is not a breakdown. It is a breakthrough in disguise. The Stoics taught that fate is not something that happens to you, it is something you participate in. Through awareness, through courage, through the daily practice of aligning your choices with what is real, what is right, and what is yours to carry. So now the question remains, not is change coming, because it already is. Not are the signs real, because they've been showing themselves to you again and again. The real question is this: will you answer the call? Will you listen to the restlessness in your chest? Will you let go of the people and places no longer aligned with your becoming? Will you follow the quiet invitations, the strange synchronicities, the unexpected doors? Will you trust the fire, the confusion, the clarity, the calm? Because the universe, like a wise teacher, speaks in patterns. It whispers through your discomfort. It tests through your obstacles. And it confirms your readiness, not with comfort, but with peace amid uncertainty. You don't need more signs. You don't need more proof. You need to decide. Because once you do, once you say yes to what's already rising within you, life will meet you in ways you never imagined. The only question that remains is, are you ready?